Now, the news. Korth has once again made something truly spectacular. In my mind, this is one that's sort of along the lines of the Meteorite 1911s that Cabot did a while back that sold for some insane amount of money. It's called the Bitcoin, and only 210 of them will ever be produced. The 210 number is a nod to the 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist. They say that only a few dozen of those 210 will make their way to the US by way of Nighthawk. The Cryptex style case is made from 185 pounds of aluminum, likely machined from billets, and it contains 84 pieces total, and the code to open this crazy case is the serial number of the gun. There is also 1.7 ounces of 24 karat gold inlaid into the gun that is stretched out, would be over 20 feet of line work. The gold alone is currently worth over $5,500. And I know some of you guys will be shouting about how it's ugly and you don't want it and blah, 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 it's too expensive. Well, I agree that this is a unique thing. It is very cool that it even exists. Oh, and if you're wondering, they are chambered in .357 Magnum, which is absolutely secondary to this entire thing. They say that the tooling and software files to design this particular gun will be destroyed after they're done making them, so none can ever be produced after this. And the price tag for such things, 84 grand. Yeah, it's a lot. One of the most expensive guns I think I've ever covered here on this show. And the question is, do you think guns like this are a good investment if you can afford it? Sound off in the comments with your thoughts, and I cannot wait to see what you guys have to say about this one. Welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collective News. I'm John Patton. Huge shout out to the massive pile of brands that are supporting GunCon this year. We're bringing on new ones all the time. It's great. If you're a brand and you want to get involved, let me know. If you want to come see all these companies in person, see all the brand new products, go to guncon.net and get your tickets right now before they're gone. Moving on. In a land where a different type of white powder flows like rivers, Keltec has released a new gun. It's the new version of the Sub 2000 in 10 mil. Now, the Sub 2000 at its core is a 25-year-old design, but their current version is the third generation and has some neat features like a forward portion that twists as you kind of fold it up so you can leave on optics and accessories, which is cool. It is still a pretty simple concept. You pull the trigger guard down and then the gun folds up. They are using a 16¼ inch barrel, a pick rail on top and bottom of the handguard, as well as M-LOK on the sides. Crossbolt safety, it has an adjustable stock, along with the ability to use Glock magazines. G20 mags, to be specific, although there are larger magazines that might also work here. I will say that 10 mil out of a 16-inch barrel is just going to be ripping, especially with the right loads. And at 5 pounds overall, this could be pretty handy. The best part with Keltec is usually the pricing. This has an MSRP of $600. If it's reliable, it could be pretty rad. Gotta say that. Next up this week is a brand called 5150 Rifles, and they have something pretty interesting for us. At the core, it's a full ambi AR-10, which isn't all that interesting. I guess it's kind of rare, but there are some neat features. First is something they call the RAC, or Rapid Action Cam. They use this instead of traditional takedown pins front and rear. They say that this locks the upper and lower together in a way that prevents movement and therefore provides greater accuracy as well as less felt recoil and muzzle rise. Whenever I hear something like that, I immediately call BS, but there's a little bit more going on to this rifle. The ambi system is called the Synchro, which they say is a ground-up designed ambi control model. They're not reverse engineering some kind of thing with the lower and just making cuts in it. They say that this is ground up. The gun that you're seeing on screen is a 16-inch 308 that they say is optimized for suppressor use, and it can be had in right or left-handed versions, which is kind of rare these days. There's not a ton of companies making that. It has a Hyperfire trigger, a Men 2 furniture, and 4 magazines. See? Manufacturers are listening, guys. Keep banging that drum for more value. You can also get it in 6.5 or 8.6 blackout, and prices range from $19.03 on the bottom end up to $26.70 MSRP on the top end, depending on the features. There are other models like the Battle, Overwatch, and Orion. Honestly, those are pretty good names, but we'll leave those for another day. If the accuracy stuff is true, that right there alone has my interest. And I want to know if you guys want to see us review one of these things. We have access now to a range where we can shoot out to over a mile, so we can really see what they're made of. Let me know below if you guys want to see that, or if there's a different rifle you want to see shot that far. Sure, put that down there too. Also new this week is a couple new versions of the Rossi Brawler. This was originally released in a 45 Colt /410 configuration with slab side barrels, and now you can get them with a threaded barrel chambered in 5.56 or 300 blackout. The barrel length is 9 inches, and with a 1 in 8 twist, that's actually getting a complete revolution and likely won't tumble sideways downrange. The 5.56 actually has a 1 in 7 twist, so cool. And both of them have a threaded muzzle for a can or a break. I'd probably put a can on there. There's also a pick rail on top for an optic and a hammer that has a nice side spur for cocking. Of all the goofy that I've covered on this show, this is actually one that I might go grab. MSRP is just a sea hair over 300. And Beretta is in the news this week with some new versions of their 20X Bobcat lineup, all of which have cute little names. First is the In Case of Emergency version, which has a 2.4-inch tip-up loading barrel, 8-round mags, and the Trident trigger system, which is supposed to reduce recoil by 35%. It's also cut for sights, so instead of having them built into the slide, you can actually remove them and swap them out. That's cool. MSRP is $550 on that one. Then we have the You're on Your Own version with basically the same features and different grip. That's $600 for some reason, likely because of some Cerakote, I guess. It's kind of hard to tell, maybe the grips. Then you have the Do-It-Yourself and Bug-Out versions, which both have threaded barrels and taller sights, so you can see over the suppressor that you will inevitably put on that. And it has that same light trigger. Honestly, this fixes some of the issues that I had with the gun we reviewed. Can't see the sights at all. I mean, even so, like when it's backlit, you're looking at the exact same tone of silver. So it's just the same thing. You can't even differentiate at all. The sights are also bad because the front sight and the rear are the same color as the rest of the gun, and they just blend in completely. The MSRP on the Do-It-Yourself is $550, and the Bug-Out bag is $600 MSRP. It's nice to see them making these things a bit more modern overall, like they have with the 80 and 90 series. And speaking of, there's a new baby blue Cheetah, the 80X, and a new Flectarn 9211 for right around $1,000 MSRP. Beretta certainly has a ton of stuff to offer these days in their metal frame guns. They've got so many different models, it's ridiculous. You know who else has a ton to offer? This week's sponsor, XS Sights. I've been wanting to work with a company like XS for a long time. They offer sighting solutions for all kinds of brands out there, and a bunch of them are meant to be fast while keeping you accurate. For example, I got these 3-dot sights on the Desert Eagle, the Co-Witness style on the Masada Slim, and another more different set on this VP9 build. And since you watch TGC, they set you guys up with a big discount. If you use our code TGC at xssights.com, you'll save 20%. That's massive. Big thanks to XS Sights for sponsoring this week's video. Let's keep it rolling with this week's Friendly Fire question. If you want to ask me a question, slam it down in the comments with the words Friendly Fire so I can go back and find it. That's how this works. Native Stone says, why don't we see more options in 10 gauge? I think that's largely because 3.5-inch 12 gauge shells kind of do the same thing, and recoil out of a 10 gauge is pretty stout for most people. I would bet that most 3-inch shells are good enough for hunting solutions. Epson Blade says, why 50 Beowulf over 458 SOCOM? I showed Project Broadsword last week. That's what this is in regards to. The simple answer is because it's a 1/2-inch hole. That's why I like 500 Magnum and 50 AE, and then you have 50 GI, and that's like the basement dwelling cousin that no one likes. But I would still like to have one of those. And Brian Keith Wood says, what would you recommend for an affordable 30 cal can? My go-to recommendation for a few years has been the YHM Resonator. It's really good value for money, but I've heard good things about the Otter Creek stuff as well. I've never shot it, but I've heard it's good. There are a whole bunch of options in the sub $1,000 range. If you guys out there watching have a favorite that you actually own or have shot, not just what you've seen online in comments, and don't groupthink this. If you've used one, drop it in the comments for our boy to check out. My friendly fire question to you guys: what do you consider a budget price for a pistol, rifle, or shotgun? Are they all the same? Is it just like $500 across the board? Maybe a sliding scale? Sound off below with your thoughts. Magpul has a bunch of new products for us this week, and we'll start with the RXM, the Ruger RXM. That's also a review that we have on deck. They just released the subcompact and full-size grip module for the RXM in 4 different colors each. Neat. That gun is a chassis style, so for $40 MSRP, you should be able to swap that out for a larger or smaller setup. Cool. We then have the Hunter Light stock now being made for the Ruger American Short Actions for $220 MSRP, then a hooded front sight under the MBUS Pro line for $95 MSRP. Then you have the most interesting thing here is the UCS or Universal Carbine stock. This is an option for the guns that have the pick rail set up on the rear. It's adjustable, foldable, and has a sling QD cup as well as a butt pad on there. MSRP is $220 for that. I think it looks pretty good. In other accessory news, MDT has a new version of their Send It Level. It's the Gen 2, and it's a product for the long-range guys. There's very specific use here. Having your rifle level when taking your shot is key to making them consistently connect downrange. And this has an LED setup that allows you to see quickly from behind the gun, is the gun level, which way do I need to tilt it, that sort of thing. They say this is faster and more durable than running a traditional, bubble level on the gun. The new Gen 2 version has some new features like new button and modes, and then a better battery setup, which is cool. There's also this sort of extender that allows you to run the lights through cables back under the rear of your scope so you can really just not miss it. That's neat. MSRP is like $220 something. Silencer Central has a new can for us this week, which is the version 2 of their Banish 30. Long story short, this is a 100% titanium can. It's very lightweight. It's now using a hub mount and has this little codpiece extender on there, so you can make the can a little bit longer, probably get it a little bit quieter. They say they're rated from 17 caliber up to 300 Weatherby and have an MSRP of $1,000. In other news,